in the art of war. I want you to keep that in your mindset. Very good?
Amen.
All right, so let's talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. What is PTSD? PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a mental condition that is triggered by a terrifying event, either experiencing it or witnessing it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something that was done to you. It can be something that you have saw or something that you have been privy to. A lot of times you'll see people who are scared to drive because of a bad accident that they saw. They car didn't get wrecked, they ain't have to use their insurance and none of the rest of that, but they terrified of driving because of an accident they saw. That is a perfect example of PTSD. Some symptoms may include flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety, anger, as well as uncontrollable thoughts about the events where you just can't get something out of your mind. I used to think I had PTSD from my daddy whooping me because boy, it seemed like, you know, hours after that whooping, I'm still thinking about it. And then he came down. But there were some things, seeing a man get his life taken. I couldn't get that out of my mind. Seeing it's different from when you see it on TV versus seeing somebody truly get blown away. That ain't nothing that just snaps out of your mind just real easily. That junk stayed with you. And you wonder why folk, you know, run around carrying pistols and carrying on, because a lot of our young brothers have witnessed this. They have seen their partners with their heads on the side of the ground, you know what I'm saying, and brain matter. And they've seen their uncles and aunties be, you know, their lives be taken. And that creates the anger portion of it, or the severe anxiety. Why are you so nervous? Why won't you come out the house? Why every time you see you jumping? PTSD. PTSD, it's a common diagnosis. We see it being diagnosed in the medical field all the time, but we don't attribute it to the 400 years of slavery for black folk. Now, when we talk about a traumatic event, something that happens once, a woman being raped, that's a traumatic event. And so you can imagine, especially our women, you can imagine the PTSD that would be rampant in you if you had to experience that kind of trauma. And that's just with one. Imagine if you were the victim of rape continuously over the course of weeks and months and years. How jacked up would you be? And then on top of that, if the rape was taking place and your children saw this rape, because remember, PTSD doesn't necessarily have to be something that you experienced. It could be something that has witnessed. So your children have seen all of this take place. How jacked up would your children be? And then if it was done generation after generation after generation, how messed up would your generations be? So when we're talking about PTSD, this is something that it's a true medical diagnosis. Black folks just ain't crazy. Black folks just ain't messed up. There was something that has been done to black folks, and it has been done over the course of months and years and centuries. And so there is a medical diagnosis, not let alone the spiritual side of it. But the medical diagnosis is a true actual event. So when we talk about some of the events, let's look at some of the events that have taken place so that we can see why some of us are the way that we are. The reason that I went here to the Catholic Church is because most of us, everybody in here, where they are with the Lord, but most of us claim Christ. And so the church, or what we would call the church, has messed up a lot of us. Look at this. Walk on this side so you all see it. I'll be in your way. Walk on this one. If I stand here, can y'all see? Okay. All right. Very good. The Church of England apologized back in February 2006 for the role it played in the 18th century in benefiting from slave labor in the Caribbean. Throughout history, slavery has received the official sanction of the Catholic Church. Leading figures of the Catholic Church, from St. Augustine to numerous popes, considered the enslavement of human beings to be perfectly acceptable practice sanctioned by God. However, after the Reformation, this was a tradition that was carried on even into the Protestant sects. Now, you know, the Protestants, they came against the Catholics in some sections, but they said, no, that slavery part, that's cool though. so it wasn't just the Catholic Church, it was the Protestant church also. They said it was all right. Look at this. The Church of England blessed the slave ship Jesus of Love. This was the first slave ship to grace the Americas. This was the very first slave ship to leave and to bring slaves back into America. And look at what it was called. Jesus of Love. What this came to be referred as the good ship Jesus was in fact Jesus of Love, a 700-ton ship purchased by King Henry VIII. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
The Atlantic slave trade. From approximately 1526 to 1867, some 12.5 million slaves have been shipped from Africa, and 10.7 million have arrived in the Americas. For every 100 slaves who reached the New World, another 40 died in Africa during the Middle Passage. You see these numbers? Go back. You see these numbers? From 1526 to 1867, 12.5 million slaves. 12.5 million slaves. Now, let's talk about some of the medical or the biological happenings from this. We know that from nature, a deer is born with a sense of flight because it understands that it has to survive as soon as it's born. It has to be ready to get up and run quickly. And so that DNA has been placed in him to be ready to go.
Yeah.
Now there's medical evidence that says that all of our emotions have a chemical trail. And so fear has a chemical trail to it.
Yeah.
Joy has a chemical trail to it, or happiness has a chemical trail to it. And so this sort of thing, and you can see it placed throughout history inside African Americans when it comes to their overwhelming fear of whatever. And it's because fear has been placed in us, and it resides in our DNA.
Yes.
You can go look this up. I ain't just talking. Just go do a little research and you will see. And the reason for that is because of how much fear has been placed in us. And it's do you know one of the reasons why black families whip their children the way that they whip them? It ain't because we barbarians or we love our children any less. It was because when we were enslaved, they whipped their children so that the master wouldn't kill them. They would tell them, hey man, listen, you better not do that no more, and I'm going to beat this black off of you so that the master don't kill you for whatever offense it was. Because we would die for the smallest of offense. So you wonder why in the black community you whoop for everything? You're laughing, but think about it. Think about in our families. We give corporal punishment for everything when some stuff don't even require corporal punishment. Why is that? Where did that come from? We ain't just some heathens, some barbarians. It had to have come from something. Dr. Joy, if you don't know who Dr. Joy DeGry is, please go look her up. Phenomenal woman. She talks about post-traumatic slavery syndrome. And what she says is that we have to assess the psychological damage from the trauma and the abuse that has been given to us. She said that we must assess what is wrong with us. Why are we the way that we are? Because if we don't, then we'll just go along with all of the verbiage that's been given us. Right. You know, we just barbarians. And in fact, go to the next slide. This is the verbiage from some of the medical leaders of the day, some of the historians of the day. This is what they said about us. James Madison. Who learned about James Madison in school?
Yeah.
The presidents, right? This is what one of the presidents of the United States said. That blacks are inhabitants, but they are debased by servitude below the equal level of free inhabitants, which regards the slave as divested of 2/5 of the man. He said because we were slaves and we succumbed to the slavery, that we weren't even full humans. That we were 2/5 of a man. Now, if you've got that kind of mentality, how do you think you would treat someone who's not even a full man?
Oh, man. Yeah.
This is the president of the free world. Richard Oswald, the international trader of American slaves, he was the son of a Presbyterian minister, and he mastered a profit from slave trade in the 1700s that would have made his net worth today $68 million. You know how many slaves he would have had to have traded to amass $68 million? But now he grew up as a Presbyterian son inside the household. What type of cognitive dissonance do you think would have had to take place in his mind to be able to do the business, the dirty business of slave trade, but still be, to grow up in a Presbyterian household? There's got to be a disconnect that takes place.
Yes.
Reverend John Newton, this was the author of Amazing Grace, said that slaves are lesser creatures without Christian souls and thus not destined for the next world.
Wow.
Go to the next slide. James Marion Sims. He is known as the father of modern gynecology. This is what he said. He reasoned that slave women were able to bear great pain because of their race. It made them durable. And thus they were well suited for painful medical experimentation without anesthesia. He used to experiment on women, black women, with no anesthesia. Now, I didn't know, what our audience was going to consist of, so I didn't put some of the slides up. But he was the father of gynecology, so you know where he operated.
Yeah, right.
And so you know what he would do. And so our women, and even our men, can you imagine having your most sensitive area operated on, cut open, with no anesthesia? But his mindset was that, now this was a medical giant of this day. Sims also argued that the movement of the skull bones during a protracted birth contributed to trismus. Trismus was a disease that came out of horse manure. If you came in contact with horse manure, it would make babies sick and die. But the dude said that protracted birth contributed to trismus inside black children. Clearly designated patients by class and by race, Sims began to exercise his freedom to experiment on the enslaved infants. These are babies. Now think about an infant, a baby. Look at what the rascal used to do. He took custody of them, and with a shoemaker's awl, a pointed tool used for making holes in leather, tried to pry the bones of their skulls into proper alignment. He would take the shoemaker's awl and stick it into the back of these babies' head and align their skull because it was out of place. How demented would you have to be to do that to a baby?
Yeah.
But when you don't think about black folk as humans, it's okay for you to do that. Dr. Joy said this though. She said, if I were to have a puppy, cute little puppy, your favorite puppy, and I would bring that puppy up here in front of you and sit it on the ground and stomp it to death. Many of you would have to go get counseling because you wouldn't be able to deal with the trauma that you would have experienced seeing this sort of thing happen. So think about how much more a cute little baby, even if it's an ugly baby, is cute.
Yeah, baby.
And for you to be able to do something like that, think about again the cognitive dissonance that has to take place. Let's see here. According to his published articles, the procedure was only practiced on enslaved African babies because he owned these poor innocent children. He had free access to their bodies for autopsies, which he usually performed immediately after their deaths. Of course, you know, this experiment, and they had a 100% death rate, so he always had somebody to perform these autopsies on. So he would do the experiment, kill him, and then he would have it when he needed for autopsies. Amazing. That's what's like. The success of J. Marion Sims as the father of gynecology in the United States solely resulted from the personal sacrifices of the enslaved African women he experimented on in 1845 to 1849. Had they not been his property, giving him carte blanche to cut them open and to sew them back up as he saw fit, he could have never devised the surgical technique that brought him the international recognition. That's, I don't know if you can see it over here in the corner, but this is a shoemaker's art. That's what he would stick in the back of the baby's heads. But he was given, I mean, this great recognition because he also, there is a condition inside women where sometimes in your rectum and in your vaginal area you have holes, and so because of that, he was the father of gynecology. He learned how to go in there and sew them up and all this and that. Yeah. But the reason that he was able to figure all this out is because he was able to experiment, but he only did it on black women. So he did do a great service, but look at how he got to it. Woo! What's your next slide? Oh, go back one time. If, just in your own time, go and read Medical Apartheid. It lets you know about some of the stuff that has still been going on. I'm talking about in most recent history. And some of us are even old enough to remember the most recent history. Y'all remember the Tuskegee experiment?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That ain't been 100 years ago.
No. No.
So it ain't like this sort of thing has ever stopped. So when we talk about post-traumatic syndrome, it's not like we are only dealing with the past, we're still dealing with it to this day.
Yes, sir.
And so, again, now you can begin to see why, okay, I understand why some of us are the way that we are. Because we still dealing with this.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson. I know you know Thomas Jefferson. Look at what he said. Blacks smell bad and were physically unattractive, required less sleep, and were dumb, cowardly, and incapable of feeling grief. Advanced it therefore as suspicion only that blacks, rather originally of a distinct race or made distinct by time or circumstances, are inferior to whites in the endowments of body and mind. But he had a whole lot of little black children running around. They were stinky and they smelled bad, they was dumb, but he sure liked sleeping with them. Carl von Linnaeus.
Yeah.
This was a Swedish botanist, physician and zoologist, known as the father of modern taxonomy or human categorization. He stated there are four basic people: white Europeans, Native Americans, brown Asians, and black Africans or black folks. And this is what he said about black folks: that they are phlegmatic. That means of a person having an unemotional and stoically calm disposition. That is where you just don't care about nothing.
Yeah.
Where whatever happens, just happens. I'm okay with that. So they got that from a black man seeing his wife get raped and not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
You know what? This race is phlegmatic. They ain't taking into account that if you said something, they kill you.
Yeah.
Said that we were cunning, lazy, lustful, careless, and governed by caprice. Caprice means a sudden and unaccountable change of mood or behavior. Now, the reason that I put those two in bold, because don't those two cancel each other out? That at one hand you're phlegmatic, where you don't have any emotion, and the other one you're caprice, where you change your emotions like that. You got to choose. It can't be both of them. It got to be one or the other.
Yes, sir.
But if you put those characteristics on someone, depending on the circumstance, you can use whichever one you want. And you know what? They ain't about nothing. They fanatic. They can do whatever they want to do to them. You know, they really are kind of, you know, animalistic. Or you know what? They animals. Look at them. They kill everybody because they mood change so fast.
Yeah.
You know, one minute they nice, and next minute they killing everybody. Well, yeah, that's what happens when, you know, you rape my wife.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you sell my children off.
Mhm.
That's what happens when these sort of things happen. At some point, folk get enough.
Yeah.
To the next slide. So when we're talking about the modern day history, so with all of that happening, we're talking about PTSD. With all of these things happening, you would think that, okay, it's over with now. You know, we've got the 13th Amendment, you know, that has abolished slavery. So now we can leave from, you know, the Jim Crow era into this era. But it's not the truth. So when we're talking about the art of war, look at how the enemy has changed his technique. It went from slavery, now it went to being a criminal. This is what the 13th Amendment says. This is, I mean, go and look at it for yourself. You don't have to just take my word for it, but go and read it for yourself. The 13th Amendment states, to the Constitution declared that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. So the 13th Amendment says that there can be no slavery, except there can be slavery for this cause, if they're being punished for a crime.
Yeah.
No problem with slavery then. So what do? Look at some of the things that they convicted of us. They convicted us of. It should be unlawful for a Negro and a white person to play together or in any company with each other in any game of cards, or dice, dominoes, or checkers.
Wow.
If they caught a black person and a white person playing any of those games, they could convict you of a crime. Now, what do you think they did to the white person? Nothing. Why are you messing with them Negroes?
Yeah.
But what you think they did to us?
Yeah.
They sent us to jail. Listen at this. All persons licensed to conduct a restaurant shall serve either white people exclusively or colored people exclusively, and shall not sell to the other races within the same room or serve the two races anywhere under the same license. So even though the 13th Amendment is taking place and we're supposed to be free, now you make it illegal for me to go into an establishment, and if there is a white person anywhere in there, now you can take me to jail because I'm breaking the law. If I own a restaurant and a white person wants to come and eat in there, that means that I can only serve white people because it said exclusively. Or serve the two races anywhere under the same license. So I gotta have two licenses, which means I gotta have two buildings. I'm gonna serve all white person in this one.
Yeah.
Do you see the kind of stuff that they would do to make it illegal for us? And if you did anything illegal, you was going to jail. Look at the convictions, sentences for black folks under the Jim Crow. Jaywalking.
6 years.
You get 6 years for jaywalking. Staring menacingly at a white person.
15 years.
If you scared a white person because you was looking mean at him, you're going to jail for 15 years.
Or die.
Breaking curfew. 10 years. Not too late. And that would be cool if, you know, it would be cool, but you would think that that would just stop back in the day after Jim Crow. But this just happened in 2010. Her name was Julian, was convicted by an all-white jury of jaywalking that led to her son's death and was given 36 months in jail. She was getting off the bus and she was walking in front of the bus, and a car came in front of her. Or a car came, hit her daughter, and hit her son, killed her son. So she was convicted of jaywalking and given 36 months in jail because he killed her son. But look at the guy that killed her. This is a white man, Jerry Guy, who later admitted that he had been drinking, had taken painkillers the night of the accident. He was mostly blind in one eye, Guy had already been convicted of 2 prior hit and runs. He pleaded guilty, served 6 months of a 5-year sentence, and was released in October. That's the sort of thing. So think about a mother whose child was murdered, and then they catch the murderer and they don't do anything to him. You think that would do something to a mother?
Oh, yeah.
You think that would do something to their father or to their brothers or their sisters? You think that their mindset would be messed up?
Yeah.
So black folks ain't just crazy. There has been a systematic oppression. There's been a systematic dumbing down of us, and it's for that reason that we have so many problems. That's the last slide, right? Very good. I got 3 minutes, we got to listen real quick. When we talk about PTSD and we come to grips with now, okay, black folks are not just crazy. We aren't just terrible from the beginning, as I heard one preacher say, that there is a reasoning behind why we are the way that we are. There was an experiment that was done on a mouse family. You had the mom and daddy mouse and the little children mouse, and you put them all in a little area. And as long as they were giving them food and everything was fine, as long as they were feeding them enough water and there was enough for everybody, the family got along just fine. But when they started to take back some of the food, when there wasn't enough for everybody, the first thing that happened was that the male mice started to turn on the rest of the family and started to be aggressive. And then when they took away all of the food, it was the male mice that went around killing folk.
Yes.
Because it's something about that testosterone that's in a man that if you put him in a confined area and you don't give him the proper resources, something takes over. There's an innate trigger that goes off that says that I must survive. Well, when you think about black folks and that mouse containment, where did they put black folk? They placed us in ghettos. And they sectioned them off and wouldn't let us out of them. And then they don't give us the proper resources. They don't give us the ability to take care of ourselves. They don't give us the ability to have the things that we need. And so you wonder why it's the black males that are clowning inside our areas. It's no wonder why. It's already been proven that this is the sort of thing that takes place. So the information itself is out there if you want to find it. The problem is that Christians, especially black Christians, are not really looking to find it.
Yeah.
We just simply want to be preached at. We want to, go inside, our services Sundays and Wednesdays and lift our hands and shout and just leave the world to itself. When the scripture is plain that we're not supposed to be of the world, but we're supposed to be in the world. That we're supposed to be the light that is on the hill. And so if we don't take what we know, if we don't take the truth that we know, if we don't take it to them, then we're not doing what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go to them and say, yeah, listen, I know why we are the way that we are. I understand the way that we are, but I got an answer for you.
Yes, sir.
I know the one who can change all these circumstances over the course of all these years that can bring us back to the place where we were supposed to be as a people from the beginning.
Yes.
2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind.
Yes, sir.
Why are so many African American Christians so fearful? We'll quote this scripture night and day, but won't do the very thing that scares us. And that's getting out into the world and telling folk about the good news. The good news is not just that Jesus Christ died. That's not just where it ends. The good news is that I got good news that we can get you up out of this situation where you are. Proverbs 1:3 says, but whosoever hearken unto me shall dwell safely and shall be quiet from the fear of evil. And then finally, Psalms 34:4 says, I sought the Lord, he heard me, and he delivered me from my fears. So my question to you as we get ready to close is it possible? Is it possible for you to have this kind of information and then be saved, but still be lost?
Yes.
And then, is it possible for you to have been set free, but still be bound in your mind. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
The answer is yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And so it's our job to get the information that we're supposed to get so that when we go out, we are well armed, so that we can go out and do what it is that we've been called to do, so that we can be the light that's on the hill, that hasn't been hidden, but that is set on a candlestick for the whole world to see. Amen?
Amen.
Hallelujah.